We are the One Story Podcast. We believe in the power of a story. Everyone has a story, and that story is meaningful. Your story can make a difference. Your story can inspire others. Your story is important. At the same time, ultimately, everyone's story is a part of one story, the big God story.
It's not what you said. You're not who you said you were. When are you alone? When will you come back home?
Hello, everyone. We're back at the One Story Podcast. This is episode 26. My name is Drew, and I'm with Isaac. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sometimes I let you say it. Sometimes I say it.
I
Sometimes we
didn't
go
think
right
you were
into
going to
it.
do it. Got excited. Jumped the gun.
It's been
Jumped
a couple weeks since I always let you say it.
No, I always get mad when you try to let me say it.
I know. It's weird.
I'm sorry. I won't do that
We
anymore.
haven't figured this
Here,
out.
let's try this again.
It's only been...
Let's try this again.
Hey, this is the One Story Podcast, episode 26. My name is Drew, and I'm with Isaac.
What's up?
Thanks, as always, to who's listening out there. We're excited to be here doing this thing. This is a milestone episode.
Yeah.
Half a year in, 26th episode.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of,
crazy.
it is.
It went by quick.
Yeah, and we've done that many, and I know probably some of the listeners are right there with us on every episode,
Yeah.
and then some,
I
you know,
appreciate that.
it's hard to listen to a lot of this content, but it's there for you guys to listen when you're ready. You could always reach out to us on social media, Instagram, the One Story Podcast, Facebook. We have a page, the One Story Podcast, where we post, show notes or upcoming shows, just keep you guys in the loop. And we're looking to have it, kind of form a community. I don't know what we kind of think about like where this is going to be a year from now or whatever, looking into the future. Hopefully we can create some kind of community that, I don't know, maybe it turns into accepting prayer requests and have people praying for each other or us praying for you, the listener or guest or whatever the case may be. It's just want to kind of form this thing around the power of a story because like we say, everyone has one. It's important, and we're just trying to have this content, a platform for people to come on and share. So,
or even, like I like that because it could be a place where it sparks something in someone's life and people might need.
Where do they go from there?
Yeah. I mean, it might be like, oh, I'm not alone in this. And then, here's someone that could relate to me.
Yeah.
And, be able to connect people. I think it would be great.
Yeah. If we can, if you guys
Dang, you really did spring that one on me, didn't you?
I don't know. I was thinking, well, we talked a little bit about that, but.
Holy Spirit must be working tonight.
But I was just thinking of, we shared our stories on look back at the episodes, and you can see Isaac's story and mine. You guys can just know like who we are and where we're coming from. We're not some high and mighty, we have, we come from a checkered past, and we can just attest to God's grace, and that's for everybody. God openly gives His grace to everybody.
Your dad asked me one time. It was like, "Are you a pastor?" I'm like, "No, but I can definitely tell you what God did in my life." and that's all I can do. I mean, just attest to the work and the reality of God's hand in on my life.
And that's what we're all called to do. We're not all called to have. Well, no one has all the answers, but you don't have to know the Bible through and through.
Mm-mm.
I mean, yes, get in the Word, understand God, know more about Him, but all we have to do is just share what God has done in our lives, and that's our story.
Yep.
And that it moves, it's powerful.
And the power of it and what it can do, it can really lead people to God. I mean, it can make a disciple of Jesus just by telling people your story.
Example, Shane Groves, a couple episodes back, Hector, who shared with him, that's all he was doing was just sharing his life story and pointing Shane to Jesus.
And now he's jamming in the worship band.
Another thing, as you're listening, if you're listening on iTunes, scroll down a little bit and give us a rate and review. We'd appreciate that. Just the ratings, and it gives us visibility within iTunes, and we want this thing to spread. And if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it if you would be so kind to.
And just happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yeah.
Be safe out there.
Coming out in a couple days.
I know you Christians like to rage with fireworks and stuff. I don't want anybody losing any fingers.
Yeah, or eyebrows missing.
That'd be a good look. It'd be a good look.
So who do we have tonight? We have Melissa tonight. I mean, whenever you're listening, Melissa Hanson's on the show, and she has a great story It is. We've talked about this. We have people on and they're telling their story. A lot of it is adult content, and there's some people that have, get into whatever it may be, drugs, alcohol. Melissa has that in her story. So as always, if your parents listening in the car and there's kids there, just keep that in mind. But this is, I don't know, I feel like this is a older audience podcast. I mean, we're talking about stuff that's real that we've gone through. But if you're a youth, if you're in your early 20s, even if you're a teenager, I mean, this is content that is could be touchy, but I think there's a lot to learn from it, and there's a lot to know about what's out there in the world and what the world has to offer. So definitely, it's good. So yeah, she has a great story. She was really candid and open. A friend of ours from here at church at Southlands. Southlands Chino. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Just a story of God's grace and keeping protection over her, even though she probably didn't deserve it, like all of us. So here we go. Okay, so we're here with Melissa Hanson. Thanks for being on the show, Melissa.
What's up, girl?
Melissa is, we're happy to be here tonight, and you guys know each other from Southlands Chino, right? No, we found her. She was holding the I Love Jesus sign on the corner. Oh. We ran out of guests, so we just hit her up.
I don't know why else I'm on mute right now. I'm not talking.
She was knocking at the door.
Yeah. So I want to speak. That's the story.
We're like, what? Let's hear about it. No, I know Melissa from here at Southlands Chino. Her husband, Eric. What's up, Eric? I heard he listens. No, but me and him serve on the same team together, and we were talking about the podcast, and he goes, you know what? My wife would have an amazing story for your show. I was like, really? Right away, my ears perked up because I like the juicy ones.
Just sell me out. He doesn't understand.
Yeah, put you on the spot. She'll do it.
Maybe someone else will understand you, so go talk to these people.
I asked you to come on, and you were more than gracious to come on and share your story with us. And
kind of, yeah.
Here we go.
Well, like with anything, I mean, you're always probably a little nervous of coming on one of the. You're not used to this. I'm sure you don't do podcasts on a regular basis.
No, it's
just once a month.
It's out there.
Yeah,
then it's there,
and you're telling your story.
Well, what's funny is Melissa tried to get out of this.
That was before.
I didn't know if you were going to bring it up or not.
She made up some kind of sickness. She brought a doctor's note. I don't know what that was all about.
We didn't know what to do with it.
It was not legit, apparently. So,
but you actually a little earlier today, you spent some time at Knott's Berry Farm, huh?
How were you sick? Or you had an infection and then you're on Knott's Berry Farm? I knew it was fake.
That's what the doctor ordered, right?
Tylenol.
Roller coasters.
Tylenol, miracles.
I knew it was made up.
Dang.
Melissa tried to get out of this yesterday.
Hey,
and then
I probably would
the next
too,
day she's
if you were the one calling.
Raging at Knott's Berry Farm all day.
Ryan hang time.
Yay.
With my kids.
Hang time.
Little did we know that our very own Drew Vissignor is a roller coaster enthusiast.
I'm an amusement park enthusiast. I know all of them across America.
Snoopy.
Yeah.
So what's the best ride?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know him that well. I would say somewhere in Magic Mountain, right?
Superman's pretty good.
Superman's pretty sick. That's legit.
That's an old ride.
It is. They probably are so much better in
100 miles per hour in how many seconds?
I got to get back to Magic Mountain.
Let's go. We'll do a one-story field trip.
I'll say you should.
We'll have
live
all our guests come out.
On a coaster, yeah.
You see me barf everywhere.
You don't see anything on podcasts. That's a good thing.
Oh, moted.
I'm just saying.
Dang. you didn't know, but we actually have a camera, right?
So you can see me sweating profusely in this room right now.
It is warm tonight.
Yeah, you know how they do hot yoga? This is hot podcast.
Hot podcast.
Peak room podcasting.
Exactly.
Lose a couple pounds. Oh.
So without further ado.
I will just get into it.
Who is Melissa Hanson?
Who am I? Well, we won't start too early. We'll just we'll grace on it.
No, where were you conceived? That's where we want.
Well, it does come in because, I'm...
Isaac Labria.
I actually don't know where I was conceived. I know where I was born. But, I'll say that we can start parents divorced pretty young. Stepdad came in the picture also pretty young. Divorced at 3. Stepdad came in at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was you can say a con artist to the delicate degree. So
Wow.
as I was kind of going through elementary school, lots of friends. You could say I was in like the popular group, and I also then was also
Cool kids.
I was with the cool kids, although I felt like I was the crappy cool kid. So, very wealthy area.
What area?
Colonel Lamar.
Oh, okay. Dang.
Oh, yeah, that's what I get. Why'd you
Very
move up
nice.
here?
You live in
What's wrong with you?
Exactly. That's every time. I didn't even tell my husband where I was from when I first met him. I came up here and met him because I didn't want him to be like, oh.
How'd you guys meet?
eHarmony.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
Dang. They really do work.
It does. It really does. So I was grew up in Colonel Lamar, and you could say that I was 5'6", 5'7" in 6th grade. I became a woman at that time, so therefore bullying kind of came with that because kids don't understand. In that time,
When you're like one of the first.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally the first. I think there was 2 of us, and we kind of banded together. But at that same time, while I was having a lot of problems with kids at school, my stepdad would have drug binges, and kids would tell me that there were cop cars outside my house, and I saw my stepdad being carried out on a stretcher because he had, a seizure from drugs because he would go on binges. And him and my mom were in AA together. That's how they met. So this was kind of I started coming back from him. I always thought had a little uneasy feeling about him. Super fun guy. Took us to Magic Mountain. Got to skip school and, ride Superman, but just a little something off. So, time goes on, found out he was late to his own surprise party, like by 3 hours. He had been cheating my mom. So my view of men did not...
if it was a surprise party, he wouldn't have known about it. How could
but
you be
you're
late?
supposed to come home from work.
How could you be late for a surprise party?
Dang.
You can. Usually people find out about them, okay? He was like 3 hours late. He was 3 hours late to come home. How about that?
No, I'm just kidding.
I even remember the cake. It was a giraffe cake and all this stuff.
Oh,
and it was
you guys went all out.
There was people there, like at least 20 neighbors, and this man
That
is
must have
not
been
coming
awkward.
home. Yeah. So, and then me and my sister, and we're like, oh, let's go play handball. Wait for, I won't say his name. Super awesome stepdad. And so that just kind of started this. We then.
And your mom didn't know that he was
I think
using.
she did by that time. No, he was with another woman.
Oh, it had nothing to do with drugs. Okay.
Well, who knows if he was doing drugs?
Okay,
He was a binger, so he would not do them for a long time. Go to Vegas, knock it all out, and destroy a hotel room, come home, and be totally cool. But then we get a bill and
Wow.
kind of that kind of a guy. So then the cheating, and I don't know. I was about 8 years old, so I don't know where this all came into it. But all I know is as it progressed, at some point I found out what was going on and insisted on my mother that I go with her to find him. So she then said, okay, eventually we would go try to find him at this woman's house, and didn't really paint a great picture in my mind as a kid and what a man should be.
Dang.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with him like? Because he was your stepdad.
It was fun. There wasn't really
an emotional attachment.
No.
Okay.
If anything, I was like, you're taking my mother away from me kind of thing.
Okay.
Because I just never got a great feeling from him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He was the fun guy. Also, stop me if I keep saying because I say that a lot.
You're fine.
My husband will be
You're
saying
good.
dumb the entire time I'm doing this.
You're good.
So, time went on. That's what we did. Eventually, she stood up to him, got a divorce, and in that time, my self-esteem went lower. I had acne as a kid. Before anyone else did. People make fun of me, and I just my self-esteem went lower. So, time goes on. I go into.
Was your friends, like you said, you had a lot of friends? Did that continue on, or did it, being a part of a group of friends?
Well, that's the
Or
saddest part is that it was my group of friends, my so-called friends.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I actually, what's funny is that I reconnected with my best friend who we kind of almost raised growing up. And I told her kind of my feelings about different things. And she was like, I never knew. And I'm so sorry that that ever happened. And it was kind of amazing that we reconnected like that.
Yeah.
Dang, that sucks that you had to carry that though for that long.
And
man,
yeah, it was Because especially, I mean, yeah, it was having a tall girl. I mean, like, it was like, oh, and they make fun of you for anything. You get boobs before the rest of them, and they're like, well, that's not right, so we're gonna make fun of you. It's just anything that happens.
Kids are cruel.
Exactly.
I was a cruel one.
Yeah.
I did my fair share.
Yeah, and you can't say that I never was mean to anybody else.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I was a target, and so time goes on, and then all of a sudden, oh, the girl who had this is now really good looking. But by that time, I was like, no, okay, I don't care about you people. But my self-esteem was shot. So
And this is like high school?
Yeah, so going into like junior high,
Okay,
I wore really dark makeup and nothing that matched my face. My mom tried to help me. I'm like, no, it looks good. I'm covering up my acne.
It was a style.
Yeah. So then I kind of went into myself, but then, so things kind of, when my mom was now kind of single, we were still fighting my stepdad with certain things. It was hard to watch her. So you can say at this time.
Were they divorced?
They were going through a divorce.
Okay.
And I have an older sister this whole time.
So she actually stayed with them for a while after.
He never moved in. So we basically moved when I was in 6th grade into a new house. He never moved with us.
But they never.
They didn't divorce
like,
for a couple years.
do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of it was because he owed my mom a lot of money and they were fighting and stuff, and he would want to get back together
Just
with her.
ugly.
And
just ugly.
yeah,
Nice.
just that. I mean, he was a con artist, and that was the thing. I'm not with them anymore, and then going back and forth. And we basically, as teenagers, were like, no, you're not going back with him at all.
And so you were talking about your older sister?
So this whole, I have an older sister, and our entire lives, she's not that much. I mean, she's 21 months older than me, but she's the one where everyone's like, oh, you're the older sister. I'm like, no, she's my older sister. We kind of switched roles, and I feel like I kind of became the caretaker of my mom, and that was my big role. It's like I took care of everybody, and I was the perfect one. I cared about my grades. I was in sports. I had to be the best at everything. My dad, he was around, but he wasn't like, he didn't live with us. And around like 5th grade, he gave full custody to my mom because he was moving from apartment to apartment, and he just needed to. It was just too much, and so we were full time with my mom. And so he was there, but not there.
Did you feel like you put that pressure on yourself as far as being the caretaker?
Yes.
Okay.
How? I think it started when I would go with my mom to find my stepdad when he was cheating.
And you were there. You were her.
Yeah, I was
her partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of started, and just all these different things. I had to be perfect. I took care of everybody. My grades had to be perfect. I had to be the best in sports. I had to be, everything. So I kind of started, I guess you could say, rebelling in like 9th grade when I switched from sports to cheer. That was
the rebellion.
Sadly, but you don't even know. I mean, all the dads that had this little perfect team flipped out that I decided to
Why? What'd you play?
I was a pitcher in third base for softball.
Oh, okay.
And I was also a swimmer, and it blew their minds. Like, you have to get her to go back. And I was like, oh, I'm done.
You're throwing heat,
done. Huh? Yeah. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't take it.
Some people say that cheerleading is a sport, and I just heard you differentiate.
I probably put it down more than I should, because I have never been more in shape. And, I mean, I will say part of it is that I was a smoker later on, and I quit all just because I cheered. We competed. Lifting 100-pound girls for 3 minutes straight is very hard.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're big, you're going to do that. I'm like, okay, cool.
I just pointed out because we've had like fun. My sister cheered, and then me and my brother played football. So we'd always have like, not arguments, but fun debates about that. So
there's
there's a sport aspect to it.
Yes, but there's some that don't do poo, and so you could say that is correct. But there are ones that work. We're being.
Thank you for respecting the show.
Yeah.
It is a Christian podcast.
Trying. I don't want to be bleeped.
Just kidding.
They don't do
No. Like I told you, if you curse, it stays on.
Yeah.
We're still waiting. We're still waiting for that person to slip. So.
Oh well, hey, then I'll start rattling off. No, I will not. So what I didn't mention is that I did grow up in a Christian home. We were. I accepted Christ at 8 with my mom. So me and my mom were very close. So which also probably goes into her slightly accepting my push to help her. We've always been super close. And just we started going to, we went from church to church, and then we finally found Mariners down in it was Newport Beach, and now it's in Irvine. And so I was super involved in that. I went to Mexicali every year. I went on a trip to Chile, and
so you were pretty involved with the church.
Yeah, like really involved.
What was your relationship with God at that time? Did you obviously believed in Him?
Oh yeah, it was pretty strong. But strong for a teenager who hasn't really dealt with a lot.
Did you feel like you knew God at a personal level?
I do, but then, I mean, knowing God now, it wasn't, I mean, it can't compare. I guess I didn't know how to know God as much as, like, you know, what my husband says, like, you know, as your father and calling him daddy and, you know, crying out to your daddy. And
not to say that you can't as a teenager or a young kid, because I was just thinking to myself, like, I felt like my relationship with God was almost driven by my parents. And I had to figure out later that I needed to have a real relationship with him versus it filtered through them.
Yeah, I'd say I really enjoyed it because I also didn't have, like, the kids who went to my church were from a different school district. And so I didn't go for friends, really. I went because I wanted that relationship. Yeah. But I was lacking that connection of how to then go further.
Right. Okay.
And it was a huge church, which also, which I got comfortable with, but, and especially being at Southlands Chino is completely different. But I'm like, you get so much more out of just the closeness, but it can also be a lot more vulnerable. So
or come on a podcast and share your story.
Exactly. To where then all the people in this church probably hear, they're like, oh, that's what she did. Oh, okay. We get it now. I understand. I get it. Same thing I do to them. Sense. It's okay. Well, I heard your story. Don't worry about it. So, I mean, so this whole time, I mean, there'd be parties. Me and my sister would go. We'd always be the sober ones. I would battle with cops because everyone would jump over a fence. I'd be that one standing there, be like, "No, I didn't drink." So you know, you can call my parents.
Scared,
no, I'm like, whatever.
Oh wow.
So I was a confident person, and that I've always been very outspoken. But when it came to, I guess, like the other male species, I was like always very insecure. Like no one would ever like me. I'm still ugly. And I think that's also why I wanted to excel in other areas too, because it made me feel good. I guess it finally kind of came to a head. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was very well off because of my grandfather and what he left for her. So she didn't have to start working until I was 15. And he got sick. She had to go work for a company, so she was gone. He was okay at first. Then I got my license, met a couple girls that came and did cheer with me. And also, I mean, pretty innocent, but, you know, then they had an older brother, bought us our first pipe. And so we were like, oh, let's try it. Addictive personality to 108,000%, I guess you could say. Yeah. Because all of a sudden I was like, oh, this helps me not feel. And at that point, it wasn't even about guys, whatever. It was about me just being able to take myself out of reality and just the stress and all that. And
just an escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you stressed? You were stressed out about just your home life?
So the stress was, yes, feeling the feeling to need to be perfect. And
the expectation that you felt that was on you.
Yes. I mean, I was of you. The one also, it's like, I mean, would dress to the nines at school, but it was also the kind of school it was. And just good grades, be the best at everything I did. So
were you, well, no, you said you were the girl that didn't have to run from the cops and stuff like that. So were you the same person at home as you were at school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was also why in high school too, it's like my mom, we loved it. I mean, she would drive us places. I mean, I was never embarrassed to be with her if she showed up on campus for whatever reason. Well, yeah, we were so close. It didn't, I mean, my mom's here. Like, there's no need to hide.
But there was no drinking or anything involved, nothing like that. Okay.
And she was also
sounds pretty healthy.
Yeah. I mean, she was pretty, like, she'd always try to add new things into, like, you know, let's do affirmations at night and just always trying to, she became a Christian after we were born. So that also, she was doing the best and just trying to do the best for us.
Were you guys going to church? Oh, you said you were doing mission trips. So you were heavily involved still at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
But still, we're all broken, fallen people. It's not like you got it all together.
Yeah.
Just because
I was just breaking on the inside. It was a ticking time bomb, pretty much.
So what'd you think when you tried smoking for the first time? Like, did you feel any kind of conviction or?
And that was, was that smoking weed?
It was smoking weed. Yeah. Nothing too bad
crazy.
At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think I felt a little, but because I was just with my friend, and I think at that time I was kind of starting to rebel mentally.
By being a cheerleader.
Yeah, exactly. By being a cheerleader. Saying, you know, screw you to all those dads that wanted me to help their daughters. It was pretty innocent to me. I was like, oh, we're trying this. I'm a teen, whatever. We're free. Like,
this is normal.
Yeah. And it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was, I guess, then we kind of kept doing it. He finally, then we became a kind of a more often thing. Never at school. Not, it was to be like, oh, let's now like go after school to your house again because her mom was always gone. And then you get a guy involved with that, which was like my first boyfriend. And it's like, so I basically lost my virginity high as a kite, you know, because I found this thing that now made me feel like lose my inhibitions, which obviously everyone knows that. But just for me, that meant so much more. And so, but the weird thing was, as far as convictions go, the next day I called him and said, hey, I don't want to do that again. I'm not comfortable with it. Like, I'm sorry. And I told my mom.
Oh, wow.
I didn't tell her the weed side. I told her the
the weed was too much.
I told her the losing the virginity side,
right?
Which she was like, "Oh,
you didn't want to. You didn't want to freak her out."
No, I didn't want to. Well, but because she also had been sober, she was an alcoholic and she'd been sober,
Right.
So that was also this huge cloud over me of like, if she ever found out anything I did, it's automatic. You have problems.
Any kind of substance,
was just not okay ever.
Okay.
But
you felt comfortable enough to talk to her about sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that, so we had a relationship like that. And I also knew if she found out, then I wouldn't be able to go hang out with my friend anymore. So that was, I mean, she wasn't too happy that I, you know, was with a guy at their house, but she's like, well, her mom's gone. I know they're loose like that. So so that kind of stopped too. So time goes on, she starts going away, and working out of the house. And so it just gets worse. I find this thing and I start basically failing. It's my junior year now. I start almost failing out of 11th grade.
Oh, wow.
And
you were saying before you were always getting great grades.
All A's and B's.
Perfect, yeah.
And then, I mean, just taking full classes all the time, never like any of the crap classes, I should say. And
wasn't like ceramics and
no, I never did the ceramics thing.
And
I actually did auto shop.
Four elective classes.
I was one of two girls in auto shop, so I was a go-getter. And so just kind of, and I also, but at that same time, I was this woman who had been waiting for everyone else to catch up with me. And I found out in auto shop that, all these older guys think I'm really cute and
getting attention.
Yeah. And so where then my teacher would have to like get mad at them and send them away because they thought it was funny to, you know, put the air gun when I was wearing my cheer skirt, just crap like that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm starting to like it. So it just goes on.
Getting attention though.
Yeah.
And you liked it.
And I was like, oh yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like attention?
Like, no, I hate attention.
I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. We're all aware of that.
You must listen to the show.
Yeah. See you, but you know. So just what I did find out. So my mom started to be suspicious. She found pot a couple times. Nothing really happened. She'd find it in my purse. I also realized that pot
you became
smelled.
a stoner.
Oh, I was a full leaving on breaks. I mean, leaving a break on, and we got some of the younger girls. They found out, and they want me to take them out on like lunch every once in a while. And they're like, or after school, I drop them off at home and like get them high. And then they're like, I just sat in my room for an hour staring at the walls. I'm like, just don't tell your parents, please. Okay, that's why.
You don't blow up my spot.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I never got caught. And
were you still in the church? Were you still going to church at that time?
It was in between this time that I actually went to Chile and kind of like.
Were you looking for Chilean weed? You're like, what?
I was looking to buy. I actually bought a pack of cigarettes and never smoked them because that's where I was at that point. I'm like, I can't, because the convictions were there.
Okay.
You were battling into that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like that was and it's also, you know, what brings me here today. But so it got so bad. So I come back. It got so bad. We were supposed to tell our stories, our testimony at church. And I end up in San Diego at some guy's apartment. Didn't make it up to tell my story. And that's, you know, it starts to get worse and worse. I started to drink. I could buy alcohol because I looked like I was 30 since I was 12. So I could buy alcohol at the liquor store down the street from my school. So I would go buy a 6-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade, drink them on lunch. I'd down them because you can't smell it on my breath if it's lemonade. And I'd go to Spanish and basically just, you know, do the rest of my day. And I mean, it was a thing where I had this. It was called a baddie. It looks like a cigarette. It's like a one-hitter for pot. I'd have a cigarette in one hand and that in the other because it looked like a cigarette. And I'm just driving to lunch with girls, and it's just not, I mean, just almost like, hey, who's going to catch me kind of thing, like kind of crying out. And so in that time, I didn't really have a boyfriend, but I put myself in very bad situations. My mom finally said, hey, like either she kept catching me, tried to put me in therapy, tried to do all those things. It didn't change anything. And finally, I ran away one night. I ran away with the people who I fought to be with, and she said, no, they're not good for you. Well, I ended up being with them and just getting obliterated and being like, oh, yeah, she was right. In my mind, thinking she was right. My dad calls me, I think, the next day or the day after and says, you better get here now because your mother's sending you to Texas. And
what was in Texas?
Boarding school.
Oh.
And so I went back. They gave me a day. I go back, and I was like, I begged her because I was a functional person, even though I was kind of failing, but I still I was doing cheer. I was doing things. I actually had a job. I worked at Wet Seal. And
are those even around anymore?
No. Wait,
funny.
maybe. I don't know. But I worked at Wet Seal, and I mean, I was functional. So she let me go to outpatient. So I did the outpatient thing, and I actually ended up really liking it. I did get sober for the most part. That sounds really bad. But I did get sober, and this was my senior year. And I then became very out about it, talked to everybody, oh, I'm in rehab, I'm going to do this. And it became like this club. And
were you trying to help other people stop smoking, like stop getting high and drunk, or?
Yeah, but I had to completely change all my friends. I mean, so I became and I met a boyfriend through that, and I just hung out with him pretty much my senior year, and didn't really hang out with all the same people, and just kind of distanced myself from them. Mm-hmm. So I'll say then I was accepted into the Fashion Institute. I was doing pretty well. My mom told me, if you stay sober for 9 months, I will buy you a new car. And I was like, sweet. So I stayed sober for 9 months. And into this is when I was in college, driving back and forth to LA. And it was almost like right after that, I started drinking again. Mm. And her rule.
Right after you got the car?
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was kind of the start of the end. So, I mean, it went to there. Me and my friend, she's still an amazing person. We're still friends and the sweetest person. I mean, we'd go buy mini bottles and pour them our drinks and then sit there and paint during school. We'd go buy, because she was over 21, and so we'd go buy it and then just get drunk in our third class and then drive home after and from LA. And just that was like our everyday thing. And then she found my mom and said, okay, you have a month to get out. I went and slept on my dad's couch. And I will say I love my dad. I think he's just just a friend. He wanted to be my buddy. He also didn't live with me, and so he didn't see the destruction I had done. And to myself. And so he was like, yeah, your mom's crazy. Come live on my couch. And and then we'll figure this out. It became, I don't even know how to describe it. Just
free reign.
The drinking and the everything. I mean, I even had a nervous breakdown because I would get so drunk every night. And then I also decided to have 2 jobs while I was going to school. And because I still had that go-getter, like do everything mentality. And I just had a nervous breakdown and cried my whole entire way to school. Had to go to each of my teachers. They basically passed with a C. And then I was like, fine, I graduated. And then everyone was, oh, so proud of me. I graduated school. And it wasn't until I moved to forced my dad, because I still had to be out because I was still drinking and living this life. I would walk out of the house with a Diet Coke can, and it would have vodka in it. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, you can't go out of the house with that. I'm like, well, why not? I'm just driving down the street. He's like, you can't. And so he'd make me put it away. But little did he know I'm sitting there with more alcohol in my car to drive.
So you were an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
And you're 21?
I was 20.
20?
Yeah.
Dang, so you weren't even.
No. Yeah. It wasn't hard either. So it was, it came to the point where, just drunk all the time. I don't even know where I worked at that point. I don't remember. Then I needed to move out. We found the bowling alley. I started going there all the time, just getting drunk. I met this guy. This is when I think
For sure don't meet guys at bowling alleys.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, I'm going to say that. I do believe in that. So I'll say that my sexual side really went to hell here. Sorry, I used a bad word. Okay.
What the hell? HE, we say HE double hockey sticks around here.
You're giving us a bad image.
I know, that's what I felt. I was like, oh my God.
Whose idea was this, Drew?
The hell's going on?
I feel like I can't even. I don't remember what I've said it anyway. So I'm now going to this bowling alley and just meeting people there, which is it is kind of lame. But that's where, guy after guy after guy.
Sounds like a sitcom.
Guy. It really, in a way it is. I live with my dad, but I can drink whenever I want, do whatever I want. And I mean, I'm 20, so, but then he would have to cover my rent because I wasn't necessarily, you know, I was drinking my money and, but it just became this, I could say I was really thin at my thinnest because I was basically drinking my food.
Or that was your.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was also, because I have ADHD, well, not quite yet, but I could stand to not eat. It was this time too. I had a really good friend I met when I worked at Bloomingdale's because that's where I started working, and she was in rehab at the time. I was like, well, I was in rehab too. Oh my gosh. Well, we started doing coke together, and then we did speed together because that was her drug of choice. And then she started going down the bad path, and we just kind of did it together.
Oh wow.
So she was getting kicked out of her house if she didn't go back, but I lived with my dad this time, and so I could keep doing whatever I wanted. And so that was like the start to just kind of going into more things. And it just kept going downhill. And like I dated a couple guys in there, but it was like racking up numbers for me because I felt pretty and other people were noticing me. So I moved down to Costa Mesa with a friend, which made it even worse because I was really free. And I mean, no one knew what the heck I was doing. And I had a good job, which was also amazing, but then I started drinking on the job. And to support that habit, I started working at the bowling alley where I used to hang out. And I mean, at that time, I'm 21. I'm making $30-something thousand a year, sharing an apartment. It was fine. And so then I started needing a second job cocktailing and just still kind of going down this whole, I would get off of work at like 10 and then drink until 2 with my roommate because she was the bartender. And then I would drive home in my Mustang and hit 120 just to see if I could. And be like, oh, cool, I hit it. And I'd take my foot off the brake and just go home. And, you know, maybe drink a little more and then go to my job the next day where I managed people. And it was just crazy.
And how did you see that at that time? Were you were in it, or did you feel like you were?
That was, I think, because I try and think about it too, because even my husband wants me. He said, well, at that time, how did you not have any conviction? I'm like, it's like I did, but I was so far gone that I just kind of lived my day, and it was fun, and I feel good and pretty, but I still love God and would still do certain things, but I wasn't then actively in the church.
Do certain things like what? Like pray?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I'm like, wait, what did I just say? Yeah. Yeah, I would still pray. I would still tell people I was Christian. I would get into debates with drunk people. And I would be the bigger person and say, I'm not going to fight you.
The drunken apologetics talks.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Where they're like, well, God's not real. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk to a drunk about God being real because, you know, I'm better than that. So I still had firm faith that he was there. It was just like he was in the back seat and I was just doing my thing right now.
And not only that, I think time goes by faster than what you believe. Like,
yeah.
You know, you could be, from what it sounds like, you were going hard for a year or two.
Yeah.
But it probably only seemed like you know, like a small, like a short season. And little do you know, like, oh, I've been drunk every day for a year or 2 years or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, really starting in probably in a sophomore, like junior year, it's like I just kind of wasted away my time. I mean, I look back now, senior year was okay because that's when I was actually in rehab and trying. But was just, I found this thing that made me numb and forget, but I was still, I drove drunk more times than, that's probably the scariest thing to have to tell your kids, right, is when they will say, well, I'm like, no, it's like the fact that nothing ever happened to me. I have no idea why God let me. So what am I supposed to give people? Like, what do you want from me that you just let me survive? Because there's no way. To where I was swerving and not remembering how I got home some nights when I was driving.
So you're going hard, to say the least. When does this all come to a head? So
it would be when I finally met one person and we had a, not good relationship, and is fully based off of like drinking and, sex, that we stopped seeing each other and I ended up pregnant. And it was one of those things where I was sitting at my friend's work one night and I was like, I just feel different. And it was just weird. She's like, well, maybe you're pregnant. I'm like, whatever. But I was kind of like, I think I am. But it was a weird feeling. Not like, oh, I think I might be. It was like, I definitely feel different than I ever have. So I go take a pregnancy test at 2 a.m. and I'm pregnant. And my first thought was, because I was Christian, I didn't believe in abortion. And I was just like, well, I have to give this baby up for adoption. And my roommate's like, you could never do that. Like, there's no way. Like, I know you. There's no way. So it was like in one moment, my entire life just like stopped. And it all became about this baby. And I mean, from work to everything, I mean, I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I stopped doing everything. And all of a sudden life got really hard, which it usually does when you decide to clean up your life.
When reality kicks in and you start to feel the feelings that you're suppressing for all those years, starting to see what you probably couldn't see when you were, intoxicated. Everything, you're looking at things through a different lens. Everything looks a lot different when it's clear, when.
And you're like, oh, I was like, even the people who'd come around, I'm like, I hung out with you?
For sure.
Or I'd come home to my house and it was disgusting. I'm like, what is this? And people be hanging out in my living room like, well, this is what we do every Saturday morning. I'm like, well, I have to work and I'm pregnant and you smell bad. So I need to go and you need to go. And just the hardest thing was seeing these guys that I had been with. And it's not like they were far. Some of them were like neighbors and some of them were my roommates' friends. And they came around and I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. And the hardest part was actually seeing them look at me like, oh my God, is it mine? And that was probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever gone through. And being like, don't worry, it's not yours. Like, that was
having to say that.
Yeah. And to be like, I'm that person who actually has to be like I'm going on Jerry Springer and it's like, you're not the father and you're not the father. And that was never, I was the person who was going to be until marriage. And I'm like, what did I do? And that was when I sobered up. I was like, I just ruined the one thing that mattered to me. And it was my virginity and saving it for my husband. But in this, so my mom finds out. One thing I always did with her was Thanksgiving. I went that morning and I was like, you need to stop and you need to, hear something. And I was like, I'm pregnant. And her eyes lit up. And she smiled, and I was like, what? Like, we don't even talk anymore, really. And it was like this, I couldn't have asked for a better out. And I'm like, okay, it was kind of at that moment I saw kind of God carrying this whole thing. God was now taking me in this and saying, this is your last chance. Like, I'm going to try to bundle it up for you. And I didn't ask to move back in, didn't do that, but I started going back to church with her, started doing all these things. And there was one sermon where the pastor said, hey, like, there's always that one instance where it's like you've been hit in the face with a 2x4 and God is trying to stop you in your tracks. And I just sat there and just bawled. And I was like, this is my moment. And if I don't take this one, I'm probably going to die. And he's clearly giving me this chance and not put me not in jail, not give me DUI, so that I can now get a job still. I can do something. So it kind of just went up. It wasn't perfect, but just things started kind of coming into line. And my mom then finally, she's like, what are you planning on doing? And I was like, well, I'm going to live in my apartment and put him in my room. And she's like, no. She's like, you can move back. So I moved back in with her. I decided to go to Vanguard with
Go Lions.
Yeah.
Vanguard alumni up in here.
I didn't even know what it was. We were sitting at my sister's graduation from the normal, the normie people who do it, out of high school, whatever it is. And and they said,
those losers.
I saw this kid I knew and I was like, and it said School for Professional Studies. I'm like, what is that? I figured it out and put my son, found someone to watch him. I'd go to school. He even went to class with me a couple times as like a 1-year-old and the teachers were like, it's totally cool because
you didn't have a sitter.
Yeah, the sitter wasn't there. And it was just this amazing thing. It was just like everywhere I went, there was just arms around me. And
I will say this about Vanguard. Getting an education from a theological perspective is so different than it's just so it's so fulfilling, it's just it's so different.
It is.
But you get so much more.
Well, taking a science class, I've never taken a science class from a Christian perspective. That just blew my mind. I was like, it is possible, people. It's possible.
But even psychology, when you're thinking about like just even the biological part of your brain, and how it works, but the way God has his hand on all of it, and how it all works and how we work as people and how much we actually need him, minus the science and all that stuff, which is true.
Yeah.
But, God has his hand in all of it. So, but I love that I'm a Vanguard graduate as well. I love that God put me there. 'Cause having that is it changed my life.
Yeah.
It really did.
It really just made everything kind of fall in place. And the weirdest thing is because then I'm in this class and there's all these eligible men. And I'm like, hey, I'm finally in a good place. And it's going to be healthy relationships. And
definitely better than meeting someone at the bowling alley.
those were great people at a different time. But it was just.
If you hang out at a bowling alley, it's not
cocktailed
about
at a bowling alley. But it was more like it was relationship after relationship. And I felt like it was like, I'm like, well, this guy's a good candidate and we get along really well. And then he would go like this person and just everyone fell away. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be alone forever.
And how old are you at this time?
23, 24.
It's funny.
But I mean, having a 2-year-old.
The perspective of someone in their young 20s.
Oh, yeah. But having
so
a 2-year-old as a single woman who then I'm not going to bars anymore. I don't go out. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, how am I going to
yeah.
get a guy?
You're
So
a
then
mom.
I see some guy in the choir at Mariners and I'm like, he's good looking. If I catch his eye and something
He's
will
a
happen.
Suda.
Yeah. And then I was like, I'm just going to stop. So it wasn't until he was like 3 that I'm like, well, let me try this whole dating
Online
game.
dating.
Yeah. I'm like, because that was really the only way.
Mm.
And I put my restrictions so tough that I'd get like maybe one every couple weeks.
Uh-huh.
And then I went on some bad dates. Bad dates. Like, some just want to have sex with you. And you're like, this is a Christian site. And then there's others who are completely different than what they said.
Yeah.
And I was about to give up. And then this weird guy pops on there. And he knows this, whose profile kept changing, said I couldn't talk to him yet, but he could see mine. It was the weirdest thing. Every picture he had on there looked different. There was shaved heads. There was oversized suits. I mean, if I could... I need to go find it.
Where the shoulders are like way past his shoulders.
Way too big.
The sleeves are too short.
And I'm like, but I was so desperate. I wanted to get my money out of it. I'm like, this guy, and then I was like, he has kids. Okay, so maybe because all the other guys, none of them had kids, except for maybe one, but he was a tool. So it was. So then I waited for him. I was like, I will meet this last guy. If it doesn't work, I'm out. So he was this guy who lived in a trailer in Walnut, and I was like, I'm coming to you because you can't come to my house because you're probably going to see my mom's house and be like, oh, cha-ching, and then like kind of do that. So I drove up here, and from there it just
hit it off.
Yeah, hit it off. Even though he is the biggest introvert you've ever met, won't even talk to you if you. I mean, it just. And my family had a huge problem. Like, they did not like him. They still have a little bit because he's not anything like me at all. They're like, I don't see how you could be with him. I'm like, because he just has. We ended up getting married in a courthouse on a Wednesday because he had work off because he worked for a Jewish company, and so we got married on Yom Kippur. And everyone thought I was pregnant because we got married on a Wednesday, and I was like, no, we just are kind of sick of it, so we got married. And the biggest thing for us was that. And I just wanted, because he's like, you can say anything about me. I'm like, there's nothing but for him.
Spill the beans.
No. I will say
give us some dirt.
He was the first man I ever had like sober, like I ever made love to sober.
Oh, wow.
And for me, that was a huge thing. I mean, huge. And we didn't necessarily do it the right way. I think our whole relationship. And we're a blended family, and it's messy. And so we're still trying to figure out how to do the best thing for our kids. But, I mean, even being at Southlands Chino, it's just been this beautiful learning experience. And we had a very rough start, and to where he couldn't even really handle my son. Not because my son was bad, but just because now all of a sudden there was 2 people in his home all the time where he had shared custody with his ex-wife. And he was not the nicest to him. I left him 2 times in our first year, and he, for the first time in his life, actually followed after me. And I said, okay, it's counseling or nothing. And we worked it out. I moved back, and it's just been this, like, why are we together? We're like, oh, because we can't not be together. Like, it's just.
You guys love each other.
And it's this thing where it's like, I don't care if we did it wrong, if it wasn't the right thing, but we are this just, it I can't be with, I mean, I'm so comfortable with him. It's like God gave me this man who I have no insecurities around. When that was my biggest problem, my ultimate biggest problem. And this man is just like, I gained 80 pounds in my last pregnancy. I still have not lost it all, but he's like, I think you're fine. And yes, guys say that, but it's not that he says, it's that he truly believes it. And
makes you feel secure.
Oh yeah. I'm like, he
loves you for who you are.
And he knows how to. And like, even if we have problems, I'm like, there's just this reason why I'm with you. And people ask like, well, why are you with him if he, upsets you and this? I'm like, I don't, honestly, there are sometimes I say, I don't know. I have no idea. But what I know is that he keeps trying, I keep trying, and we're married. And that's it.
Yeah.
You made a promise. You guys made a promise to God that you guys were going to do this life together. So.
And I have to deal with an ex-wife. He gets it free and clear. I don't have any ex for him to deal with.
But it's also a point too that, living the Christian life or, committing yourself to God, it doesn't mean that everything is just all easy and, everything's perfect. We still, every day is a struggle.
Sunflowers and hummingbirds.
Yeah.
That's what I think it should be.
I mean, it's like that at my house, but,
That's what I figured all the time.
When you see me waiting to show up, you're like, oh,
there's all the hummingbirds around them, like Snow White. I'm like, it's just perfect. And people look at me and they're like, you just have it together with all the kids and the stepkids. I'm like, you realize I haven't worn makeup in 2 years. My hair's in a bun constantly. It's like I come home and just like I'm like, God, I bet. I'm like, they go to bed at 8 because I need my sanity. I'm like, but I'm glad it looks that way from the outside. That's great. My Facebook life looks amazing. And so I kind of make that try to make it a little more raw now too.
Yeah.
Do you follow One Story Podcast?
Do I? Oh, I know you're actually on Facebook.
Oh my God!
Here we go.
I know.
Drew,
well, you will.
Drew, press stop.
You will.
Stop recording. Stop recording.
Well, of course I do.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I check in every day and see what the conversation is.
I listen to all. Is there 25? I think that's what Eric told me. There's 20.
Episode.
This is 26,
which
is
a milestone. You are
this
exactly
like
halfway into our first year of this podcast.
Oh
so
so thank you, Eric, for giving me that information. Now I look good.
So I wanted to point out like that moment at church at Mariners. I think you said it was when you kind of just broke down. Did you feel like that was that? I mean, it sounded like the pregnancy brought everything to a halt to what you were doing destructively, but then your commitment to God or your relationship with God, is that when it started mending from there, would you say?
Yeah, it was that. Even though I had the backbone.
Yeah, you knew
I knew what I needed to be and where I should be. And so when I found I was pregnant, but I still felt like, the scarlet letter was painted on my chest. I go back to church and with all my mom's friends, and it's like if I could explain the whole thing, in 200 days with you guys, it's that, yes, that was more the defining moment when it was like he was talking to me out of 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm okay. Like this instance is not going to, it's going to define me in a way to, help me grow, but it's not going to define me. Yeah. It's not going to make me this awful person for the rest of my life. And I don't have to say, I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry for what I did to you. It's that this happened. I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best to make it better. And God is your father if you never have a physical one.
Amen.
And I will try to surround you with amazing men that are going to also show you how to be a man and I'll do the best I can. And that's all I can do now.
Yeah.
But yes, it was like that moment it was the moment that said, okay, I know where I need to be, but okay, God, you've now accepted me back. And I actually, right after he was born, they did this thing called Rooted. I don't know. It's just,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Okay. And I rededicated my life to Christ, and I was baptized in front of him. And that was probably he was like 1, but still,
awesome.
so no, he was younger than 1.
Cool. Well,
but
what, just so people know, what is Rooted? It's a program.
It's Rooted. You go through with a small group of people that you don't know, and you basically just learn the basics
of the faith.
Yeah. The faith. And it's basically just to get you to understand what Christianity is, but then also kind of help you to open up yourself and
connect with other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is really cool. yeah,
Did you feel
it's a good
when you talked about your mom's friends? Did you feel any kind of rejection from them?
so that was the reason I brought that up was actually no. So everything that happened after I got pregnant, it was like God was just laying this little gold path for me.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother's friends have been the most amazing women. They're her small group that she's had since I was young, and so they've been in my life, and they are just they just surrounded me with love, would pray for me, every single week. And not that I would, get rid of it or do something, but just that, just that answers would come. That when I was dealing with my son's dad at first, that that the right thing would come out of it. That we would make the right decision about whether to pursue him or not. Like just kind of just everything, and they were just there with me.
So they were just genuine Christians.
They still come to. Pretty much all of my kids' birthday parties.
That's awesome, and that's awesome when you do hear stories like that within the church. Because there's so many bad perceptions of how Christian people are, hypocrites or
that. And that's the thing. If I wanted to tell anybody, it's like if you just open up and you're in an actual good place. Yes, there are those places that aren't.
It's a good way to find out, right?
Yeah. If they don't accept you, you should probably leave and
just set
find
some traps and see who bites.
Yeah, I'm pregnant out of wedlock. Who loves me? And it was. My mom's best friend was in there rubbing my feet when I was giving birth, and it just and to this day, it's there's nothing in their minds that I am this awful person. They're like, life happens. We've seen you grow up from a little girl. They prayed and anointed oil over my room when I was 16 and got into drugs and stuff. And they've been there through the whole thing. And for them, I think they saw the same thing, was that, oh my gosh, like this was her defining moment. This was her change. This is what she needed. And people sometimes, I'm like, not that God got me pregnant, but God used this in my life. Because I'll say, oh, well, God, now I was pregnant and now God saved me through my pregnancy. No, obviously God didn't plan for me. That's not what he wanted for me, but through this. And that's where it gets confusing, because you can say, well, he knows everything, but then he let me do like all that,
But we have our own
my
wills.
free will.
Yeah, we have our own wills that we act on.
Yes, he changed this, and like I said, he gave me that. I'm gonna smack you in the face real hard when this happens, and you either change, or you have to work a lot harder.
And you took the lifeline that you threw out there.
I was like, oh, I get it. And I will say that's the one thing for my kids, because he doesn't understand my life. Eric doesn't understand the addiction side and all of that, and how I could have been with multiple guys. And he's like, I just wasn't like that. It was my ex-wife and you. I'm like, well, good for you. Like, it doesn't always wrap up in that pretty bow. We're different personalities.
Right.
And you don't have to be ashamed of your personality. It's that if you have the basis, and all I can say is for my kids, I want them to know Jesus young when I can force it on them, which sounds really bad, but it's like while they're here, I'm like, pay attention, do these things so that if they do get into the problems that I can't necessarily save them from, and I'm just praying for them, that they then
have that beacon of
yeah,
hope.
and because that's what I had.
That Jesus would be that. Like if they're in the wrong direction, you're in the dark of night, you're on a ship, you don't know where you're sailing, and you see that lighthouse.
You're like, dark hole, there's that light right there.
You probably have a long way to go, but that direction, so that's great.
Yeah.
And you guys are here every Sunday. Both you guys are serving. I think Eric's a great guy. I feel I talked to him the other day on the phone. I feel bad that we haven't got a chance to hang out, but you married a Christian dude. He grew up in the church, and God put him in your life. You're saying, you whatever, whatever doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
God put him there for a reason.
Well, I think that both, it's like we both have these, and if you meet my youngest daughter, you'll see both of our bad sides come out, but in a really sweet way. But it's that we may have not been our best Christian selves when we got together, but we're like, okay, and now we both found our home, because he wasn't comfortable before, I wasn't, and we walked in the door here, and we were both like, okay, like this is our commitment, and we have not made a commitment like this together for a church family. Since we've been together, and it's also
how long have you guys been married?
Almost 6 years.
Oh, okay,
so
that's awesome.
It's kind of
that's
weird.
Awesome.
I never thought I'd be with anyone for more than like a year, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost 6 years, and we now have a child together.
I need to rethink this.
Yeah, and then the oldest ones are like 5th grade. I'm like, what happened? It's just I'm old and married, but
that's awesome. It bumps me up to hear that, because we have the same. Me and my family, being at this church. It's because it's a small church. I mean,
Yeah.
we have 75 people every week.
It can be intimidating, but it's
and it's everybody knows each other and no one's excluded. We're all different. I mean, there's so many different personalities, so many different people, so many different stories, but we're all here because of the big God story. It's His story through us that brought us here to this place to get to know Him better and get to know each other better.
And I think
I
yours
didn't know your story, and
I was just gonna say your story it just speaks of God's grace, and His love continually, even though you went off the wrong path and took it where you did. His love and grace was still there for you.
Yeah, and I think that is like the biggest thing. It's like you can say it's. I mean, I don't even know what other words, but that's all I can think of is that He was just constantly there waiting for me. Like, I'll be here when you get back, Melissa.
He's always there.
Yeah.
And
like
for
that.
anyone who's like, God's not here. And I do think about if something really bad happened to my children or something, I'm like, would I still have that? But his relationship with me is, I will be there when you're ready to come back. And I still feel that way. And I'm not saying that's the best thing for me to do to Him. And that's something I constantly have to work on, is just constantly giving Him back what He is there for me. But that's also the relationship we have with our kids. It's like, I just have to tell them, I'll be here when you're ready. And
we're all in process.
Yeah.
We don't all have it figured out.
And I can think, I'm like, I am my 2-year-old to God right now. And He's like, don't worry. I've seen you do stupid stuff. So I'll be here when you come back.
Yeah.
And we'll never have it figured out, though, too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. We're always going to, and that's what God calls us to do, is to continually be transformed by the Spirit, and to continually trying to be more like Him, just reflect Him better. I mean, we're always going to fall short. Always. Yeah. And I think the most important thing in all that is just to trust God. Mm-hmm. I mean, your mom probably trusted Him with you. I mean, all the chaos that she, had to stand by and watch probably was incredibly painful for her.
Oh,
but the fact that you came back and the fact that you're living this life, it's redemption, it's transformation, it's restoration, it's all the Christianese words you want to insert here, but
those are good words,
it's amazing.
I wrote them all down.
They were good. Here, let me go through the list.
Yeah. Check.
But I think it's beautiful, and just continue to lean on Him. All of us, all of us that are going through whatever doesn't make sense, whatever wasn't expected, whatever we thought, like, this is not the way my life shouldn't be like this. All we can do is just ask God, if it's your will, not my will, but your will be done.
Well,
Melissa, thank you so much. That was fun.
Was it? 'Cause I feel like I just barfed out words, and I don't even know if they made sense. So I'm sweating profusely.
It did, and thanks for being on here and being vulnerable. It's not an easy thing, but I think people out there listening are going to gain from your story, and there's something. Well, there's a lot there, really, and it's awesome that God kept you safe even through all the craziness.
Yeah, that's the most amazing thing. Yeah. I'm like, thanks. I guess I probably don't have another shot, though, so I won't.
Used up all your 9 lives.
Yeah, and then some. No more Mustangs. The kids aren't allowed to do any of that. I have a minivan, so
there you go.
So we're going to pass out flyers to everybody in the congregation for this show, so they know to listen to this episode.
I would really greatly appreciate that.
All right, well, let's close it out. Another episode. Thanks for being on. And,
thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Listeners out there, you know how to reach us. And thanks for listening and tuning in.
So with that, I just ask that you open your eyes, listen closely, soften your heart, and ask God to reveal Himself to you.